importance of maintaining a healthy diet because we truly believe that the mind and body aren't two different things.
Your gut is like your second brain, right? So whatever you sort of feed it will impact.
So, can you tell us actually 3 things that we all could include in our diet? What could that be?
Yeah, so one is to really have good fats.
I think avocado lovers will be happy to hear this today.
People in India tend to eat very late into the evening.
I know you personally worked with notable figures like Neeraj Chopra.
I got the opportunity to work with him back in 2017.
Welcome to the 9th episode of Open Minds Safe Spaces. We've been discussing a lot of things around mental health, progression, growth, and yet again, we're here today with a very special guest, Ms. Shona, the founder of Nutrify My Diet. We're going to be talking about something very thought-provoking, rather food for thought, right? We're going to talk about some important aspects about what are the other aspects that influence our mental health. And thank you so much for being a part of our conversation here today. And would love for everyone to know a little bit more about you, want to know about your journey, what brings you where you are today. Talk to us more about who you are.
Yeah, thanks, Priyanka. Excited to be here. And, see, when I started off, I'll just rewind maybe a decade prior to where we are, but or more actually. So this was when I went to the US in grade 8. My parents sent me for a 3-month vacation. And, at that point, instead of being fascinated with malls and, all of these other things that young teenagers like, what caught my interest was actually going to the grocery stores.
The grocery store?
Yeah, you heard that right. Like I actually used to love doing errands for my aunts and uncles. I was wait for every chance to just go there because that fascinated me. There was just so much that I wasn't used to seeing back, in India where I grew up in the Middle East. There were so many different fruit flavored yogurts and egg whites from a Tetra Pak and all of those things that uh, was actually interesting to me. So I think I always had that interest in food. And then fast forward a few years when it was time to take up like a professional course, nutrition happened by chance. I just knew I liked science, but didn't know what quite, exactly what I wanted to do. So nutrition was one of those subjects, but the specialization in sports nutrition happened because I played sport myself. Used to do badminton, but then with the pressure of studying and everything, couldn't take that as a career, but I wanted to combine both those things and just my love for working with people, meeting people, but more importantly, doing something positive, like where I could make a difference, in their lives. So I think I figured the right combination along the way, and that's what made me a nutritionist. So yeah, that's how I got into this space.
That sounds like a perfect fit. Somebody's skill and passion coming together, and the outcome is here.
Yeah, yeah.
So nice to hear that. Uh, we've often in mental health, always as psychologists and psychiatrists, me being a psychologist myself, have constantly recommended to our clients and patients about the importance of maintaining a healthy diet because we truly believe that the mind and body aren't two different things, right? So sometimes when I'm still working on the earlier sessions with the clients, I say, hey, let's start working on the other route, and that's your body. I start with a recommendation of 25 minutes of, just brisk walk, at least with a 10 minutes pranayama. And say, for example, if somebody has like a sleep issue, we say have like yogurt in the night before you go to bed
Yeah.
or coupled with a banana. That generally helps, right? And somebody who's feeling fatigued and low, we also recommend that, have egg whites. So that's been a common practice for us. But the important conversation is with you because you're the expert here. So, can you tell us what is that combination between the mind and body through nutrition?
Yeah, like, nutrition does have very important, like very profound role to play with respect to mental health. And I'm sure speak to your clients or tell them that your gut is like your second brain, right? So whatever you sort of feed it, will impact it. Just like you take care of other organs, like for instance, your heart if you have any heart related conditions, you focus on eating good fats, reducing, increasing fiber and all of it. So your brain being an organ also requires certain nutrients for it to function optimally. And the good part is, and one of the easiest fixes to do, which is available, is through your food, because you're eating so many meals through the day. If you focus on just improving a few meals, you'd see like a lot of difference. It's like small changes that make a big impact. And that's something nutrition can do with the mind. Right. So just starting from one, helping you focus better by eating foods that, uh, maintain your blood sugar levels. Um, Improving like your gut health, like we discussed, but your brain is your gut is your second brain, and there's a lot of like these hormones and neurotransmitters that we call them, right, that are secreted, that are formed in the gut. So a very common one is serotonin, which affects your mood, but also certain foods that you eat, like say omega-3 rich foods, can improve your cognitive function. So there is a big connection between nutrition and just gut health, and that then translates into just better mental well-being.
Okay. So, our mood, our energy, our focus, our sleep
Yes.
are primary factors that's influenced by the food we consume. So, can you tell us actually three things that we all could include in our diet? Mm-hmm. What could that be?
Yeah. So one is to really have good fats. Okay. A lot of us shy away from, wanting to include fats, and
Yeah,
because we
I
always
was
think of
surprised
it,
when you said that.
yeah,
Okay.
we always think about having, like fats is considered bad, but there are lots of good fats. So those come from, say, simple things like nuts, eating fish, having avocados is one of them. Now, these may not be accessible like all the time, but including them is part of like good having good fats, right? The second thing is to avoid a lot of sugary foods and switch them with more natural sugars. And the third is focus on like eating proteins, because a lot of the neurotransmitters, again, that I'm talking about, are synthesized from protein rich foods.
Okay.
Right. So if that's missing in your diet, then you're not getting that nutrient that helps form neurotransmitters that actually affect your mood and your, uh, the mood part of it. So
I think avocado lovers will be happy to hear this today.
I'm one of them.
Okay. So those are the things that we could have, but you mentioned avoid certain things, and you said avoid a sugary diet. Like, what
Yes.
does that mean?
Yeah. So sugary diet are foods that are very high on sugar content. They come from like, carbonated beverages or just drinking packaged fruit juices. And obviously the cakes, candies, chocolates, all of that is a high sugary diet. You might also find that it comes from healthy foods like muesli, which people consider as a healthy breakfast option, can be loaded with sugars as well. Okay, so yeah, reading the nutrition label is another whole, topic of discussion. But these are some of these things. Now, when you eat very high sugary foods, it causes inflammation in the body, which can, then upset your hormone health, upset how your, brain functions. For kids that also have ADHD and all of it, like sugar can trigger hyperactiveness and all of that. So uh, that's when high sugary foods need to be you know minimized, or you need to find better alternates for it.
We've known as therapists that sleep plays an important role in somebody's mental health. Is there something that we could add or introduce to our diet or our nutrition that will help us uh, have better quality of sleep?
Yeah, definitely a lot of things. But I think let me just touch upon what maybe we could avoid. Okay, because that makes it easier sometimes to understand, right? So uh, caffeine can disrupt sleep, right? So for a lot of us, though it can help us temporarily with just improving our energy and all of that, if you consume it too late in the day, then it can disrupt your sleep.
So let's
Yeah.
say we avoid caffeine for 6 o'clock. Is that okay?
Yeah, for some of them who are very sensitive to caffeine, they'd figure out they'd, do better even avoiding it after 4 p.m., for instance. right? So if you're someone struggling with sleep, that's one of the easiest things to first figure whether it's affecting you or not. Second is to avoid eating very large meals. As a country, like the one of the behaviors that we notice most often is you want to reward yourself at the end of the day with something large, and people in India tend to eat very late into the evening. We don't really follow the culture of eating when the sun.
So glad to hear that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, right? Uh, Even as a nutritionist, some days I eat just after 9:30 p.m. Right, with having a young, kid. I have two young children now, and uh, with that there, my eating schedule also is sometimes all over the place. But at least having the knowledge of what I can eat at that point so that I can still take care of my health is important. So I use it like that. Right. So, but otherwise, for most people, eating large meals in the evening can affect their sleep quality because it doesn't digest, makes them feel heavy. So, that's one thing. And then, having other, like, if even if it's sometimes occasional drinking, that can also disrupt sleep.
Of course. Right? So consumption of alcohol, yes, is something that
Yeah.
we definitely want to avoid.
Yeah. And also, when you have high sugary foods in the evening, it kind of gives you that boost that you might not really want. Okay, so focusing on smaller meals, focusing on having good protein in them, because focusing on foods that have tryptophan in particular. So they could be bananas, they could be eggs.
That went over my head, but yeah.
Okay. Tryptophan, yeah, sorry, as a nutritionist, sometimes, we just throw in terms that might not, that the audience may not understand. But to break it down, it's sort of an amino acid that is formed from like protein rich foods. Now, when you have tryptophan, it helps to convert, it's used in the conversion or to produce serotonin. Okay, which then helps your mood, and then it also helps you, feel a little better, calmer, all of those things, and that in turn just helps you sleep better. So, so a lot of protein foods, especially from the non-vegetarian category, have tryptophan in it, which then converts to serotonin, and that mechanism takes place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very often, most of our clients come with body image issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? And they're very conscious about the way they appear, the way they're carrying themselves. Uh, there's a constant judgment that they perceive from themselves and the world around them.
Yeah.
In order to cope with these emotions, they may also engage in something called as binge eating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Um, how does that happen? What do we do to replace that binge eating?
I mean, I think, that's where sometimes we play the role of a psychologist. And I think our professions sort of overlap in a way. Like you'd have to speak to your patients sometimes about food, and we have to speak to them about some psychology. So, like you said, it's a coping behavior, right? But um, if they know that they're binge eating, there may be certain triggers that are causing them to do that, right? One is their body image, but possibly it's a certain thing that someone has said or that they've seen or they feel. So one is they identify their triggers, but once they want to like indulge in that binge eating, even we ask them to one have something healthy on board, because even if you want to eat, doing maybe a little more of the healthier is better than just going and ordering something.
What could those three things be? Example, like I'm really tensed at work
Yeah.
and I feel like I want to consume something really badly, and
Yeah.
the nearest thing that I can get is like a packet of chips. But can you give me an alternative that I still have the behavior to just cope with my emotions unless I'm able to deal with it healthily?
Yeah. So say
What can I munch on?
yeah, correct. Like now, even if you're having something like, salted nuts or spicy nuts, like that's still going to be better than a packet of chips because you feel full faster with it, and it also has like healthy fats. So I wouldn't like, I'd eat maybe a handful of cashew nuts. Again, people refrain from eating cashews thinking make me fat, but that packet of chips is going to do worse.
Okay.
Right?
So
So
cashew nuts is one. Can you give us two more?
yeah, so I'd keep maybe some chocolate bars with me. Like they're chocolate coated energy bars, chocolate coated protein bars, and there are lots of brands nowadays that are focused on clean, healthy eating. So something like that, if I want that chocolatey, feeling, or I could also keep in foods like makhana. I could just have a banana. A lot of times, something like a banana just makes you feel better after eating it, right? It also has a smile if you inverted. But so the thing is, most of our clients that we recommended a banana to never at the end of it say that, okay, I don't feel satisfied with it. They eat it, and again, it regulates to the good hormones that are secreted after eating banana.
Um, we've also observed that tiredness and fatigue comes with stress, anxiety, depression, or other diagnosable mental health conditions, a very common factor, right? Even with burnout. When we're feeling tired and fatigued, we have this thing called as HALT in psychology: hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Right?
Okay.
And we recommend don't make big decisions when you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Yeah.
So starting with the hitch, when you're hungry, you're not the wisest, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Never go shopping that time either.
right. Yes. So when we're tired and exhausted, the very natural one form of intake for us is carbohydrates because it's tasty
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Because
safer, right? Um, but carbohydrates are known to reduce the energy levels in our body, right? What can I do to immediately feel energetic? What can I consume or drink? Um, like, what do you recommend? Like
yes,
coconut water? Like, what do you recommend?
I'd like to just rephrase that sentence. So you mentioned like carbohydrates can cause our energy to dip. It's not, that is a myth. It's the type of carbohydrate that you eat is going to decide whether your energy dips or not. Okay, so if we consume very refined carbohydrates that come in the form of, say, white bread, bakery products, biscuits, all of that, they will give us a temporary feel good and then crash our energy. Right? But if you focus on eating a complex carbohydrate, say that comes from um, say wheat, it comes from eating stuff like sweet potato, it could be a whole wheat sandwich, or those kind of carbohydrates don't cause our energy to dip. So even our local grains like, ragi, millets, brown rice, all of that. Now, if you're asking me for like, a snack or what you could eat or what you could drink, yes, coconut water is definitely something that, yeah, is refreshing. It could be it could also just be like lemon juice that you'd, just prepare at home. Be careful on the sugar, but that could be a refreshing, drink. Having a snack, which is, it could be a combination of, say, like fruit and nuts. Again, it could be like a sandwich that you make, which uh, could have some cheese in it, could have some vegetables in it, but something that's quick to, pull together. Having corn, a lot of these things are healthier carbohydrate options.
Um, one of the most common concerns our clients come up with is anxiety and the gut issue, which means when we're even taking our case history, we ask them about their digestive system, right? Which means about their appetite or if they've been having IBS or any digestive concerns, right? So, what do you recommend here?
I think the first thing, if anyone came to us with this condition, is we try to identify, um, what are their triggers. Like sometimes without knowing what goes into their foods, like suppose they tell us that we've eaten like roti, sabzi, dal, and say after that I felt uneasy, then maybe we try and figure out possibly it's gluten that's causing that for you, right? If they say that uh, to just come to the point, we ask them to keep like a little food diary first for about 3 days to for them to themselves understand what are foods that make them feel good and what cause them to feel uneasy. And once we've identified that, then we help them make switches. Right now, just because I mentioned gluten doesn't mean that everybody has to avoid it. Right, but for some that could be a trigger. Uh, for some, like I said, having caffeine, apart from disturbing your sleep, also upsets their gut. So just today, I met a client who identified after this food diary that having coffee first thing in the morning didn't sit well with him. It was just as part of like, a habitual routine that you wake up, have coffee, because adults generally switch to tea or coffee, as a beverage. But having, say, green tea or having just lime water with some honey did the same. Felt him, made him feel better, and he could go and use the loo as per, his regular schedule and then upset anything like that. So this is something that helps clients really understand what suits them, what doesn't suit them, and then we build on from there because nutrition has to be customized.
We start with an ashgard juice in the morning
Yeah.
and recommend it to end with a chamomile tea in the night.
Yeah.
Is that something that you also recommend?
For those who probably have acidity, who then can't sleep very well. Some of these foods and beverages are, yeah, part of the nutrition, plan that we provide, but it doesn't mean that everybody has to have both those things. Like I said, some may not even like the taste of chamomile tea, right? So then what else? So then possibly for them, a glass of milk might also be comforting, soothing, and get them to sleep uh, better, right? So,
So, if somebody, as one of our clients, want to reach out
mhm,
and work on their nutrition to improve their mental
mhm.
health, how long might that take?
With most of our clients, we see that in just about 2 or 3 weeks, they just start feeling better about themselves, better about their outlook, changes. And the first few things that you'd notice if your nutrition is actually working for you is your energy is definitely better and you feel a lot better. So the chances of you feeling irritable, tired, anxious, moody, all of those things just get better. So you don't need like 3 months for it. You can start seeing the changes as early as 2 or 3 weeks.
So, 2, 3 weeks, and how many consultations do they have with you?
So one in the beginning, and we might have a follow up or two in that time period. Just say in a week's time to see how they're doing. And most often than not, without us asking, we get the response that what, I'm actually feeling good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Um, so, what do you recommend for someone to feel motivated to join that?
To join the program. Well, most of our clients actually come in um, because of something that they've reacted to, like looking at their blood report, and now they want a consultation. But we're also seeing a fair number of people, especially after COVID, that they want to be proactive about their their health. And so while some of them are reactive, they come in because their vitamins are all over the place or they have other health conditions. A lot of them just want to know, um, how do I eat healthy? Uh, how do I be, how do I show up in the right mental space and with good energies for my family, for my work, for different areas of my life, and they understand that the food we eat impacts those things. So we get our clients from both sides. And when we so some are just self motivated, they then know that this is the direction they want to take for themselves.
Clinically, while we're treating our clients and patients, we do assess certain blood parameters, such as our TSH level, our thyroid level.
Yes.
We do evaluate for vitamin B12. We do evaluate for vitamin D as well, as they're important parameters that can define the severity of their condition. Um, what do you have to say about how does nutrition impact that and therefore can enhance somebody's well-being?
Yeah, I mean, this is something we do as well, as one of the first steps that a person would take before signing in. So before they sign up, we ask them to do some blood work, and we include all of these three as well because we understand that it can have a direct impact on their health outcomes. So yeah, once they do that, then we would say if there is a condition, a thyroid condition, then there are certain foods that can inhibit or help the thyroid get better. Okay, so for a simple thing is selenium, which is found in Brazil nuts, is very good for thyroid health. So we know that, okay, this client will benefit from including foods like this. Maybe they'd cut down on the amount of millets they're eating because that inhibits, the hormone production from, inhibits like the activity of the thyroid gland. If they're low on like certain vitamins, like B12 and D, which both have a role to play with your energy and the hormones, then we'd incorporate those things. Okay. I may have diverted from the question you asked me
Okay.
at this point.
I
But
think those were some very important
yeah,
things for us to know as well.
yeah. But apart from that, other parameters, like suppose even your blood sugars, like your HbA1cs, are not in range, it just means that your body is not able to handle the sugar that it's getting from your diet well, right? And that's why it's spilling out into your blood. So then managing that as well helps, helps with mental health, or looking at inflammatory parameters. Now, if your body is inflamed, you'd look out for something like CRP or HSCRP. So if we know that there's inflammation in the body, then even bringing down that inflammation can help you feel, just better.
Sure. Um, a few of our clients even talk about, during their PMS, women experience a lot of emotional dysregulation, right?
Yeah.
And we constantly keep recommending techniques of how they can ground themselves, practice certain relaxation techniques, do a bit of cognitive restructuring. But is something that we can include or exclude in our diet during that time?
Yes, again, high sugary foods, junk foods, foods that have like unhealthy fats in them, mainly, that you get from packaged foods, which are like chips and cookies and all of those things. When you eat those, it makes these symptoms worse. Right? But instead, focusing on healthy fats, focusing on keeping healthy snacks, having like banana, some fruits, all of those things really help with bringing down PMS symptoms and also the pain, uh, including foods that are rich in calcium and magnesium. Really help. And I'd like to just, talk about this one cricketer that we're working with who's at the national level. And for her, uh, just 1 month into the diet, right? Not diet, I told you we refer to it as nutrition, plans. But just 1 month into changing the way she ate had such a significant impact on just her PMS and the pain that she experienced otherwise every month when she was, playing matches and she couldn't give her best, right? And there's not a lot you can do other than sometimes just pop a painkiller and show up for the match, right? But she didn't want to do that and she's looking for like an answer, but she never got it from her gynecologist or from her coach. No one could really help her out. And this is not something she discussed with us actually on her day of the consultation. But when I asked her about how she felt a month in when she came for the next session, she said, this is the first time I've been pain free and I was able to play my matches. And now it's been 6 months and she's never got that pain again. Right?
I
Or
think that's magical.
yeah, it is. And for us, it was such a feel good moment, right? And it's moments like these which want us to do the work that we are doing every day. It cost her nothing much, just to experience this. Yeah.
I also know of a big portfolio and profile that you have, and you work with a lot of high performing individuals and popular figures who are in the athletic and non athletic field. Can you tell us a little bit more about your work?
Yeah, so I specialize in sports nutrition, as you know. So a lot of our work, revolves around helping athletes, one, with the right fueling strategies, right? So, one, how to get their energy levels up, how they could recover from their training better, how to improve their sleep, because that's also a big part of their recovery. And we've spoken about, things that you can do to help with sleep, how to hydrate well, because that can also help them with their energy, bring down their sluggishness, or all of that. So with athletes, we work a lot with that, and also the right supplementation protocol for them. Um, with non-athletes, right? It's about also helping them make healthy, sustainable choices, right, which they can follow long term. Look at their blood work, see what can improve from there. Help them create and form good habits with respect to nutrition that, either for themselves or they can pass on to members in their family. Like sometimes you see others in your family do it, and then you want to implement that as well. So with non-athletes it's more about well-being. With athletes we don't see as much of like medical conditions there. We focus more on performance and
Sure.
how you can get the best from them, from a performance point of view. From a non-athlete, good well-being helps them perform better also in their own space.
I know you personally worked with notable figures like Neeraj Chopra to improve their resilience. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this was when I got the opportunity to work with him back in 2017 as I consult with JSW Sports, and he is an athlete, from there. Uh, so this was like, the initial days of me working with JSW. So a very humble athlete, and so with him also, see, not just him, but any athlete that we work with, the first few things are really about making sure that they're eating the right kind of foods. Right? Sports nutrition knowledge is not big in India, and a lot of these athletes come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, where for them sometimes just getting like all the meals on their plate is something that doesn't happen. And so starting from there, like how many meals they need to eat per day, how they uh, improve their energy levels through their food, how they recover. Now if you look at all of these aspects and you start to see these improvements happening with the athletes, they automatically start to feel, say, sharper, when they're training or when they're competing. If you have good energy and you can sustain it, you're obviously going to feel confident while you're, competing. If you can focus with the same intensity when you started your, say, match and towards the end of it, then all of these things just helps boost their confidence, right? And if you
Sure.
are playing or training regularly and you're able to recover better from there, all of these things make you feel fitter. And if you feel fitter, you feel better. That sort of plays down to then, you feel mentally strong, and it continues. It has sort of like a rollover effect, or
Sure. High performing individuals, they could be entrepreneurs, they could be um, directors of companies who have a lot of responsibilities and roles to take, and they have large things at stake, right? So, when we look at high performing individuals, they're often known for their discipline, how rigorous they are, and about their routine.
Mhm.
And nutrition is something that we know is like a mandate in each of their meals. What did they do differently than any of us?
Again, it's about forming habits that help them every day, right? And habits that they can consistently follow. So, one is identifying those habits for them. Like, for instance, just say incorporating protein with their meals at every meal is a habit that is easy for them to do every day and follow it consistently. Once we help them identify, okay, what are these protein foods that they can choose and make it a part of their everyday routine, that becomes a habit that sticks. And helping them carry snacks with them that they can reach out to, because sometimes at you can't expect them to eat every 2 hours. That's impractical for them to do, right? But if when they're hungry, if they have like a healthy snack to reach out to, then that's also something that is part of like habit, creation. And then um, it helps them, perform, making sure that their blood parameters are all taken care of. So internally, if their body is functioning well, then it's going to show externally.
So, what are those two things that they all high performing individuals include as a part of their nutritional diet? Can you give us that little secret here today?
I the reliance on eating more home cooked meals. Okay, because they've all understood like the convenience of, ordering through Swiggy, Zomato, and though it's very helpful, it doesn't help them long term, right? So whenever possible, figuring out, even if it's simple, but doing things that they could, do at home. It could be monotonous, but I think at some point they understand that, what, this works better. And just getting a good mix of protein, because even urban India, though we have the, say, purchasing power, without the awareness that protein is important, uh, this doesn't get added into their diet, and that that just helps them to sustain, energy, be to age gracefully, uh, work at a better efficiency. So yeah, I'd say these two.
Can you tell us that ingredient
Well,
that's
there
a
is
part of their diet? What food do they intake?
honestly, there's no particular ingredient. It is a lot of different ingredients coming together to create like that cocktail that works for um, an individual, right? So it is us who have to find out what is that cocktail looking like for each individual. So there is no secret ingredient. It's something that, we get asked even with a lot of athletes, like, how do I become 6 feet? What is that one thing I can do? And unfortunately, I don't have that answer, right? Like, as Indian population is obsessed with being like tall, and they want, especially when they get into sports, they all want to be 6 feet and all of that. And if they don't have like the genes that naturally can help them, then a question that we get more asked most often is what food that I can eat to grow tall. There's no secret
I
food.
don't think I can ask you that anymore. No.
Yeah, otherwise every athlete walking out would be a 6 footer,
Yeah.
but no. So
Okay. I'm going to take a free pass of a quick uh, consult with you. If I were to improve my focus and energy, what would you ask me to do? One thing.
yeah, just one is to hydrate. Okay, because our brain is made up of, we have our body is actually made up of a lot of water, and hydration is often neglected, but really helps our brain to focus and with that bit. I'd also ask you to include healthy fats because that's important for it. So it could again come in the form of a supplement. If you wanted to take it, it's the most easiest way to get omega-3 in. But if you actually have a palate for like fish, or if you eat it, or if you like avocados, then or nuts, then all of these three things.
I think that's lovely. A lot of insight into the importance of the right kind of measures. I also know that quantity becomes an important aspect in having a healthy diet, right? So, thank you so much for giving us all of this wonderful insight today. And I'm sure each one of us, if we just go back and listen to your conversation, have so many things to take back, right? So, thank you so much for being a part of this show today. And what I want to say is nutrition is non negotiable in our mental health, right? So I'm hoping that we're all going to get better from here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Priyanka.